Everywhere you look, money moves the world. It builds cities, it buys food, it sparks conflict. And whether you're in Mumbai, Mexico City, or Munich, when you trade across borders, one currency rules them all: the US dollar. But how did this green piece of paper become the bloodline of global finance? How did one nation convince the entire world to fund its debt? This is the story of how the US designed a financial web that quietly put the entire world into its wallet. This is the story of the dollar trap. For centuries, trade was backed by something real. Nations stored it, and merchants trusted it. It was heavy, limited, and couldn't be printed. But in the early 20th century, something changed. The United States, rich in resources and war profits, amassed more gold than any other nation. After World War II, as Europe lay in ruins, America held nearly 2/3 of the world's gold reserves. It now had the power to reshape the rules of the global economy. The year is 1944. 44 nations gather in a New Hampshire resort. The goal? To rebuild the world economy. The US offers a solution. Let the dollar be as good as gold. Peg your currency to ours and we'll keep it backed by gold at $35 an ounce. Desperate for stability, the world agreed. And thus began the Bretton Woods system, where the dollar became a middleman for global trade. But behind this promise of trust, a trap was forming. The US now had something that no other nation did: the power to print global reserves. It could fund wars, highways, or even corporations by simply issuing dollars, whereas other nations had to earn it through exports, labor, and real assets. By the late 1960s, the world started noticing that the US was spending far more than it could afford. And France and other nations started demanding their gold back in exchange for dollars, and US gold reserves began to evaporate. And the US played a masterstroke to sustain the dominance of US dollar in the world. And in 1971, President Richard Nixon made this historic announcement.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States. In full cooperation with the International Monetary Fund and those who trade with us, we will press for the necessary reforms to set up an urgently needed new international monetary system. Stability and equal treatment is in everybody's best interest. I am determined that the American dollar must never again be a hostage in the hands of international speculators. I'm taking one further step to protect the dollar, to improve our balance of payments, and to increase jobs for Americans. As a temporary measure, I am today imposing an additional tax of 10% on goods imported into the United States. This is a better solution for international trade than direct controls on the amount of imports. This import tax is a temporary action. It isn't directed against any other country. It's an action to make certain that American products will not be at a disadvantage because of unfair exchange rates. When the unfair treatment is ended, the import tax will end as well.
After this announcement, the gold promise was gone. The dollar now was backed by nothing. Yet the world still kept using it because the oil still flowed, and the oil was about to become the new leash. The year is 1973. In the middle of an oil crisis, the US makes a secret deal with Saudi Arabia and 5 other OPEC nations with the terms that all oil will only be priced in US dollars and the profits will be reinvested into US debt. And in return, America will protect the kingdom militarily and politically from all threats. And soon, every country from India to Brazil needed dollars to buy energy. And to get dollars, you either had to export to the US or borrow from it. So the dollar was not just money anymore. It became access to the global market. It became oxygen for nations to survive. The trap was now complete. The US could spend endlessly by issuing debt in a currency it alone could print, and the world would keep buying that debt to have access to energy and to stabilize its own currency. But this came at a cost. Every new dollar issued devalued the ones already held by other nations. So inflation hit hardest in poor countries, and the richer the US became, the deeper the world sank into dollar dependency. The dollar built empires, fed ambitions, and blurred the lines between value and illusion. It gave America a power no other empire had ever held in the entire human history, to tax the world silently through inflation and control. But the world is waking up. New alliances are forming, new currencies are rising. The trap is still powerful, but finally the walls are cracking. The dollar trap has been a long game of trust, power, and especially timing, and it has worked. But now is the time for the entire world to break free from it.